Oh boy, I'm jumping back into the lion's den with this one. So I recently tried to play through Hades 2. I played for around 15 hours and I wasn't able to finish it. And I have a similar story that happened with the first Hades, where I played it for about 10-15 hours and I had my fill. I got to thinking, what is it specifically? I shouldn't say specifically, but what is it about Hades and games that are similar to Hades? I play it for a dozen or so hours and I go, I've had my fill. I don't really stick with them for a long time, even though these games are ostensibly designed to be replayed for hundreds of hours, and people sink in upwards of 1,000 hours in these games. They're like, it has unlimited replay value because it has an infinite number of permutations for the things that it randomly generates. I think of all the different ways that it can be randomly generated. I'm like, that's cool. That's not really my problem. I like random generation. What my problem is, and I think this is going to come down to what is a roguelike and what is a roguelite. I don't know the difference. I've heard both terms thrown around. I'm just going to guess here. I'm not going to put in any research. Maybe I should, against my better judgment. I'm just going to guess. But to me, if a game is a roguelite, like L-I-G-H-T or L-I-T-E, to me, I view that as a randomly generated dungeon crawler with permanent upgrades, things that carry over from run to run in order to either afford you more options on subsequent runs or more likely to make the difficulty easier. And I think that's my main issue with roguelites. So in other words, when you play a game, most games, the challenge starts low and then it ratchets up, and you need to meet a certain skill threshold in order to overcome those obstacles. So like if you make it to a boss 5 hours into an RPG and you don't know how to beat it, you could grind, you could gear up, but usually if you're hard stuck against a particular boss and you're like, I think I'm at an appropriate level, it comes down to understanding how the mechanics work and how the game wants you to play it. With games like Hades, with these roguelikes, modern roguelikes, it seems like if you come across an obstacle that you can't beat, it's by design. The games feel designed to force progression. Like, you die, that's okay. You've acquired upgrades that'll carry over into the next run to minimize the challenge. And this repeats in perpetuity until the difficulty is lowered to a threshold where now you can finally beat it. So why I think this is an issue is because with roguelikes, it seems like they're not designed for you to improve your skill level in order to overcome a challenge. It's instead akin to, you died, that's okay, try again, it's going to be a little bit easier, and then this cycle just keeps on going until, oh, now I beat it. Why I have an issue with that is I don't feel like I'm improving. I don't feel like I'm really learning how the game is meant to be played. I don't have an issue with dying repeatedly in a challenging game. Where my problem lies is not so much in the difficulty itself, but in how the difficulty is treated. It's not really used as a metric to determine if you're able to overcome a challenge. It's instead a measure of how much time you've invested in the game to acquire enough resources to overcome that challenge. It wants you to die so you can acquire these resources to make the challenge dissipate. That is what I dislike, and not all roguelikes function this way. So I think for me, like, the gold standard would be something like Spelunky. Spelunky is probably one of the better examples of what I'm looking for in a roguelike, because the only permanent unlocks, if I'm remembering correctly, are shortcuts, like you can go to the later stages earlier in a run. Because of that, because you're not getting better gear, you're not starting with more health. I think you can unlock different characters and maybe they have different stats, but for the most part, Spelunky will always be challenging. It's always meant to be extremely difficult. It's meant to be punishing to encourage you to learn how to play it. So if two players start on a fresh save of Spelunky, and one player is brand new to the game and the other player has 1,000 hours, the player with 1,000 hours can beat it, and he doesn't feel like he's missing out on a big chunk of the game. Like, oh, I don't have the weapon that I use, or I don't have enough resources to make this a breeze. The player with experience has all of those skills that are developed and matured because he was forced to develop those skills as he played through the game for those 1,000 hours. But if you put two players down that have played Hades, the player with 1,000 hours that is used to the upgrades is going to go, this is not really how I like to enjoy the game, because I'm missing out on the weapon that I use. I'm missing out on the build, all the cards that I equip that give me different effects. I don't have the right accessory equipped. I don't have the right path unlocked. There's a path that leads to the underworld, and there's a path that leads towards heaven, or whatever it is. There are different systems that are unlocked through progression, and you need to unlock a certain amount of them in order to get the game to a level that you find enjoyable. This stretches even beyond discussions of difficulty, and instead ventures into the world of unlocking more of the game. So even if you were good enough to beat Hades on a first time through, you don't get to experience a huge chunk of the game because you haven't gone through enough cycles to acquire those resources. So I like using this particular weapon, start a fresh save. I can't use that weapon because I haven't unlocked it yet. Or these certain accessories, or whatever they are, these relics, I haven't unlocked them yet. I need to, once I unlock it, and then I need to upgrade it by doing whatever challenge it says, like you need to kill 50 enemies to unlock tier 2 and then 100 for tier 3. These games feel designed as time sinks, and the more time you put into them, the better you get, but not because you're becoming more skilled. It's because the game is giving you more resources to lighten the difficulty bar. That, to me, is the difference between a roguelike and something like an arcade game. Because if you play an arcade game, it's like 30 minutes long, and you're like, okay, it's in 30 minutes, I'll credit feed, I beat it, there's nothing left. Not understanding that the whole point of these games, there's 2 points. The first is to beat it on a 1 credit clear, and then after that, it's an endless goal, which is to reach a high score. And where you choose to stop is up to you. With something like Hades, I know I'm singling out Hades, but this applies to a whole lot of roguelikes. I'm just using this as a specific example because it's newer and it's very popular. Again, I'm not hating on it. I don't think it's bad because it's popular or anything like that. I think Hades is a perfectly entertaining game for about 15 hours. Past that, it doesn't hold my attention because it doesn't really demand a level of skill from you in a meaningful way. And I think that's part of the casual appeal of Hades. A lot of reviewers and a lot of people tend to appreciate these games, even though a run is 30 minutes long, similar to a beat 'em up or a shoot 'em up. Those are like 20-30 minutes as well. But whereas people view those as too short, because games like Hades have all of these unlocks that are slowly drip-fed over the course of dozens of hours, people perceive that as more content and a richer, longer experience, when in the reality, if a run is 30 minutes long, is it really any different from an arcade game? The only difference here is the most challenging content isn't available at the start. You have to work your way up to get to the end game, where the game actually gets challenging because it's designed around having all of these unlocks accessible. This is another problem where why can't the game just give you that challenge right at the outset? Why is it designed around having to unlock all of these extra facets, all these extra mechanics in order to get that level of challenge that would make it an interesting playthrough? With an arcade game, that challenge is offered right up front, but with something like Hades 2 and similar roguelites, that's left for the post-game. And the adventure part of the experience, this is the same issue that I had with Monster Hunter Wilds. Why should I have to wait until I reach high rank or the eventual G rank in order to get to the content that actually challenges me and forces me to learn these patterns, forces me to get better at the game? Low rank is a mandatory part of the experience, and it's tuned so low that it's just really not that enjoyable to play through, and you can't skip it. It's compulsory, and so many of these roguelites adopt that same style of progression. You have to sit through a 20-30 hour campaign before you finally get to the meat of the experience, the post-game, when you unlock difficulty modifiers. Now the game is asking you to get better. Now your skill is tested. Why is that saved for the endgame? This isn't about Hades not being hard enough during its campaign. It's that the goal of the campaign isn't to improve your skill, it's to unlock everything. I like when I'm forced, as part of the game design, to improve, not rely on steady unlocks. And that's the most important takeaway from this video. I should have led with this instead of saving it until now. That's what I get for talking off the cuff. But regardless, luck is an intrinsic part of roguelikes. I'm not asking for that to be removed. In fact, I like these random powers that the gods grant you during each run. You're making the most of the hand you're dealt, and a skilled player can win with a bad hand. They understand the synergies better. This part of Hades, while you're in a run, can be a lot of fun. But every time you either die or you finish a run and you return to base, you then need to deal with collecting these resources. You need to plant your seeds, you need to harvest them, check the pot, see what you can create, look at your little achievements list and collect any resources that you get from rewards that you've completed there, talk to the characters, maybe give them an item so they like you a bit more. And that seems to be the primary purpose of the game, is collecting resources and strengthening your little hub stronghold in order to make the runs easier. That's what I mean where it feels like the difficulty is scaling downward, whereas with a typical game, you start low and the challenge ratchets up and you're meant to hit that bar. As the bar rises, the game demands more from you. Hades, it doesn't feel like the game is ever demanding more from you, it's demanding less. When I get a good run going, it's not because I think I'm playing well, it's because the rolls, the dice that I've rolled for this run have been in my favor. I've gotten all of the great upgrades that synergize together very well. All of them are being leveled up to really high levels and they're being upgraded to higher rarities, and that's allowing me to kill enemies much faster than I was in my prior attempts. And that's what's driving the success, not me playing at a higher skill level. The other thing with these progression resources is they're handed out as rewards for clearing a room. When I'm in a run, all I want are power-ups, not resources for the long-term progression. That doesn't help me clear the run right now, they help in the future. So now you've got these pockets during each run where you're not fighting enemies to further your current build, but to trade for different currency back at camp. Is it not enough that I'm constantly looking for fishing spots, mining spots, picking up flowers, playing Simon Says with these ghosts? Why do the room rewards also need to supply you with progression currency? I'm already juggling 20 different resources like it's some sort of gacha. I'm playing Harvest Moon every time I get back to camp, all these mini gymnastics to get stronger. I wish I could just automate all of this and jump back into a run without feeling like I'm kneecapping myself. Is this menu management the reason why roguelites exploded in the indie scene? Is this the appeal? Because if players want roguelites to be Rune Factory, why wouldn't I just play Rune Factory? I mean, at least there, the relationship stuff and farming are better fleshed out. And of course, you can choose to not interact with all of these upgrades. That in turn poses a different dilemma, which is, without using these upgrades, what exactly is so enticing about Hades? Does it provide an experience better than an arcade game? Is the hack and slash combat really all that enthralling? To me, it really doesn't seem so. The bosses are pretty static, they don't really randomize them to a wide extent. What in a particular run of Hades, without using different weapons or different upgrades or different resources, equipment, if you just tackle each run in the same way, would it really be that special of a game? Because to me, it seems like the whole purpose of the game, and games like it, is to acquire those resources to then create a build. And creating a build is something that I really do enjoy doing, again, in RPGs. But Hades is not an RPG. This is not some 30-hour adventure. It's a 30-minute run that I'm repeating over the course of 30 hours until I complete it, 10 times in order to see the ending. And again, I've dealt with this so many times where people, well, this is not an objective criticism of the game. There's no such thing as objective criticism, commentary, review, discussion. Anytime someone opens their mouth and has a thought, an original thought, that is subjectivity. So when I say that I don't like this part of Hades, the way that progression is handled between runs, that's not me saying Hades is a bad game, because it's not functioning the way that I want it to function. It's more so me saying I don't enjoy Hades as much as other players do, because the reason why other players enjoy this game is the reason why I don't enjoy it. But it's kind of the thing where the more I stuck with Hades, the more I came to realize how much its identity hinges on the progression elements, and you take that away, what do you have left? A sequence of combat arenas where the same objective is present in every room, just kill every enemy. That's the extent of its level design. There also seems to be a strong emphasis on story, and I know that's something many players value in a game, when I played this, the least enjoyable part of every run was skipping the dialogue that appears every single time you grab a power-up. I don't know if you can skip this. You probably can, and I just never checked, but even so, it's enabled by default, and it gets grating after just a few runs. I don't really care about the 2-sentence blurb these guys have to say, just give me my lightning bolts so I can move on. And it gets to be even more tedious when you get back to the hub and you see that everyone wants to throw in their 2 cents. Is this a story-driven game, or is it a roguelike? Is it an infinite dungeon crawler? It's sort of an amalgamation of both, and that seems to be the appeal for a lot of players. But for me, it didn't really work. I mashed through the text, because if I wanted a story-driven game, I would seek that. If I play a roguelike, it's because I want an infinite dungeon crawler. And, you know, when I'm playing an RPG, if you take away the progression and build variety, what's left in that situation? You've still got a stronger sense of exploration when compared to Hades. You've got fully fleshed out environments, not tiny simplistic rooms generated by an algorithm. They have to be designed a certain way with minimal complexity because the computer has to make sure you can actually get through it. There's no handcrafted element that makes it feel special, that makes each room feel distinct. In an RPG, there might be platforming, or there might be puzzle solving, or optional bosses, or characters to recruit. There's still depth beyond just creating a build. Which I suppose is why I play so many RPGs and I play comparatively few roguelikes. But it's also got me thinking, why are these roguelikes so insanely popular these days? Is it because they offer an infinite supply of content? Is it because they're cheap? It's mainly indie developers that are making roguelikes. How many AAA $70 randomly generated dungeon crawlers are you seeing? If you see it at all, it tends to be a tacked on bonus mode rather than the core appeal of the game. But with indie games, it seems like so many of the popular ones are just collect a bunch of different power-ups, run through randomly generated rooms, and if you got lucky with collecting the power-ups and you've got a synergistic build, you can clean sweep through everything. Is that really fun? You're not really doing anything other than rolling some dice and going, oh, I got the highest number, I win. It's just gambling at casino games. That can be entertaining, sure, but does it have the type of entertainment that would keep me coming back for more? Maybe for about 10 hours. And I do think Hades and Hades 2 are a cut above most of the chaff that infest these storefronts. Like, it's better than any game that tries to emulate Vampire Survivors. In those, it's literally just walking around and letting auto-fire target and kill all of the enemies. There's really not a whole lot of thought to that. There at least is some thought required in Hades in that you need to play somewhat well in order to succeed. You can't just plant your feet and let enemies walk into you like some sort of invincible wood chipper. What instead it plays like is you collected enough power-ups so you can be a mobile wood chipper, you're a Metal Gear, you are a mobile biped nuclear tank rather than some sort of stationary nuclear silo. And maybe that's why players enjoy playing these types of games. Maybe they want to play as God. They want to play as some sort of invincible superhero. Maybe they enjoy the story that this offers. Maybe they like the art style or the music. People can enjoy a game beyond just its gameplay aspect. I'm looking at this game and I'm judging it solely on its gameplay, and by judging it just on that, I don't think it's a type of experience that can really support a really lengthy investment of playtime. If I look at it beyond that, if I was actually invested in the story, maybe then I would be like, I want to see this through to the end. I want to learn about these characters. This is kind of a cop-out where it's like, I'm not hating on Hades and I'm not praising Hades. I'm just kind of like, I like it. I understand what it's going for, and I know a lot of people are attracted to the kind of experience that Hades offers, and I can appreciate its appeal as well. But the thing that would keep me from loving the game is the same thing that is allowing other players to fall in love with the experience. And I love RPGs. I play so many RPGs, I contradict myself all the time. One day I'll say, yes, give me this type of progression so I can have a greater flexibility in how I choose to build my characters and route myself through the game. And the next day I'll go, get rid of all that, give me a linear experience and force me to hit these specific thresholds in order to progress. It really varies from game to game. It really varies from what kind of mood I'm in and what kind of experience I'm looking for. I wasn't really looking for Hades to be a game where it's not relying on progression elements, because I played the first Hades and I knew what I was getting into. I knew Hades 2 was going to be just even more unlocks. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that for people that like Hades 1, well, here's even more. And I'm positive that the fans were like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. How could you not enjoy Hades 2? It's just the first game, but with double the content. Meanwhile, I was looking for Hades 2 to address the balancing aspect, where instead of scaling the difficulty downwards to meet you where you're at, it asks more of the player. So if we're expecting fans of the original to play this, they should have an established skill baseline, so you can strip away this progression layer that eases the burden. This push to make everything newcomer friendly, even sequels, it's turning me away from so many games. So in that sense, I actually respect Silksong for escalating the challenge from the first game. Even though there was some backlash from that, I'm sure the players that stuck with the game found it to be much more rewarding. Which is awesome. I'm glad that some developers stick with their guns and respect players enough to eke out a victory through trial and error. I like when I have to ask myself, how can I beat this challenge? How can I find a way past this gate, this barrier? Instead of a game saying, well, you need to have... Let's treat this in Dungeons and Dragons terms, because I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 recently. You don't have enough dexterity to open this gate. Well, it seems like with Hades, it's like, okay, well, try to open the gate. You didn't do it? We're going to push you all the way back here. We're going to give you 1 extra point of dexterity. Now try the gate again. You roll too low. It's okay. We're going to give you another extra point of dexterity. Put you on the way, all the way back. Run back to the gate, try again, and so forth until you can eventually open it. You can eventually open the gate at some point through just give it enough time and enough resources. That's not interesting. Instead, what's interesting is, okay, I can't open this gate. What can I do? Let me try to... Is there a way around it? Is there a way under it? Is there a way over it? Can I blow it open? Can I have someone else try opening the gate? I like experimenting and finding different ways to get past that gate. Something like Hades 2 doesn't ask you to do that. It doesn't want you to find more interesting alternative solutions to the problem. It gives you the solution drip-fed until, okay, now it clicked. Now I can open the gate. I want to stress that my complaints here are not exclusive to Hades 2. Not at all. Hades 2 isn't even the worst offender when it comes to half of this. So many of these games play the same. You can take my complaints and apply them to almost anything, really. And it's like, are people not tired of the repetition here? Go on Steam right now and look at the roguelike category. There are almost 17,000 games tagged as roguelike, and if we're going to narrow that down to just roguelites, then it's still over 10,000. Then look at all the games tagged with JRPG. There's about 5,000. There are twice as many roguelites as there are JRPGs. But this one will blow your mind. How many games are tagged as Metroidvania on Steam? Go ahead and guess. I swear, it feels like 100,000, but it's less than 3. There are almost 4 times as many roguelites as there are Metroidvanias. It's insane how big this genre has exploded. Is Hades 2 doing anything special that 10,000 other games didn't already do? It's just a matter of preference. I'm not telling anyone that Hades 2 is a bad game. I'm not telling anyone that they're wrong for liking this type of style of roguelite. I'm not even trying... I know I said roguelite. It sounded angry, like, why do these exist? That's not the case. I just don't enjoy these types of games, and I wanted to explain why I don't enjoy these types of games. I know people are going to get upset anyway, because it seems like anytime you share an opinion on the internet that conflicts with people's own self-interest, they get very upset. Like, they interpret it to meaning like, well, you're going to ruin this for everyone because you shared your belief on this game and it doesn't align with my belief. That's never going to happen. I don't have that kind of reach. I don't want to have that kind of reach. I just value the discussion, and I think it's interesting to share the perspective from someone that really doesn't praise this genre as much as the common person does. And that's not me trying to say, like, you common peasants, bow down before royalty, let me tell you what a quality game is. That's not how I'm trying to portray myself. That's so far removed from what I'm trying to do here. All I'm trying to say is that... The fuck was that? What's this? It's okay, it's okay.